from the amount of energy you need for performance. On the bike for race day, it has to have a test pace at a minimum of 150 kilometers. If it works 150 kilometers, it will work in the race. If you run a super shoe, make sure it is broken in, but has not more than 50, maybe 60, 70 kilometers on the clock, because unfortunately the shoes are not lasting very long. When you take the Zero Pro 3, it lasts about 60 kilometers in total. And then it's gone. I see, from my perspective, too many people start thinking about the equipment for the race in race week. And then coming like, oh, I need to change, or box my chain, I need to change the tire, I need to do a bike fit. That is too late. Because you need to practice and you need to get that stuff rolling in. Quick excursus. Boxing the chain really makes sense. I don't want to sell that, but it really makes sense. We have experience now, it takes about 3% less friction, which is at 200 watts, a lot. More than shaped plates. Conclusion, the nutrition needs to be customized based on the results of the training, or if we have the data based on the VO2 max test. The equipment needs to be ready, and the guy should be trained at some point accordingly, so that you know that you can fuel accordingly to the demand. Back in the days, it happens more often that people bumped running out of energy in the race than mechanical issues. You barely see that nowadays, that people really bump in races, because fortunately we have so much more information about it. Nevertheless, what we see nowadays is too many people in the running have toilet issues. And that comes from overfeeding. Because too much is too much. Just as a quick side note. So now tapering 7 to 20.
Question about nutrition.
Yes, sir.
So, are we talking only carbs from gels or also from other foods like dates or banana for the race?
For the race, let me put it that way. When we talk about a triathlon or even cycling, the less GI stress you have, the less possible it is that your stomach GI gets upset. My personal recommendation is take as much liquid carbs and mix as possible. Because what happens, the digestion of the carbs happens in the first 20 centimeters of your gut, not in the stomach. And the more liquid it is, the faster it goes to the stomach. Example, when we take a gel has about a digestion time till it provides the first energy about 8 to 9 minutes. When I take a hydrogel, it's down to 4 minutes. If I drink liquid carbs, it's down to 2 minutes. So it depends a little bit on the race itself. Early in the bike, something to chew on may be okay, but as soon as you eat something like dates or you banana or whatever, that's in the stomach. It will not get digested during the race.
Liquid carbs, you mean if we mix the powder with the water, or also
the powder
gel?
or
the gel with the water is the same?
Pardon?
Gel inside the water or powder in the water? Is it different?
Powder in the box is liquid carbs. Gel in the water is just a gel in water. The structure of the gel doesn't change. It is just easier to get in, easier to dose, and you don't have to and get it.
So still going to be 8 minutes, 9 minutes.
The digestion time is still the same. From drinking till the first response in the gut is about 8 minutes, 10 minutes, depending a little bit on the gel and how they mix it. In the classic, 1 glucose to 0.8 fructose, 8 minutes. The only thing which really goes faster is hydrogels. They are already like a little bit more liquid, and the chemical structure is more easy to break up, because all the demand is going through the stomach fast, and the only thing which goes through the stomach fast without break is water. And then the liquid carbs, like the powder mix, they kind of attach to the water and sneak in there. So in race conditions under normal circumstances, it takes about 2 minutes to have the first response of the carb, and you can plan on when and how to use it.
So what's the difference between hydrogel and normal gels?
Yeah, like I said-
Hydrogel is the STS brand? Or
Yeah, the normal gels have the structure is a little bit more juicy. The hydrogels have a higher water component.
Yeah.
They're a little bit bigger packages, and there's a lot more water in, and the mix itself is a bit more watery.
So STS is hydrogel,
That's hydrogels.
and who is normal? Precision?
The gel is gel, and the mix is mix.
It's not hydrogel.
It's not hydrogel.
You said something about eating a page of banana, it won't be consumed during the race.
It will be consumed from the calories part, but it blocks the stomach. On race day, when we come to it a little bit, on race day or in the preparation of the race, we want to avoid anything with fiber. We want to have that system clear,
Yeah. So
because any fiber blocks. And when you take something like solid with fiber on race day, it hinders the quick digestion.
are we going to talk about what to eat pre-race, like breakfast or free?
Something like this, yes.
Later on,
We'll come to that, because there's a certain protocol I recommend.
Coach, question. For the gels and carbs, when the right time I can take the gels or
The right time is when you need them.
how you sometimes, for example, I did forget, like, okay, after 1 hour, then I'm gonna have to have the gel. Sometimes I get
Well,
busy.
the difference is between training and racing. In training, I always say fuel every 20 minutes and you have a constant balance.
Okay.
In the race, it's a little bit, it should be a little bit more structured. When it comes to the race day, it's like, okay, I know the course, I know there comes a mountain, and I need a lot of energy there. So I
Before then.
pre-fuel there to know, okay, if I take a gel 8 minutes before that, I take a gel. Because I know there, I need an energy.
Okay.
A race nutrition plan should be different from take 30 grams every 20 minutes. That is nice, but that's not a nutrition plan. A nutrition plan should be based on the demands of a race. And here I'm really talking about triathlon. It's different when I go into a half marathon, then I say, okay, half marathon, every 30 minutes, 20 grams, and that's enough. But as soon as we have longer distances and changing demand, then the nutrition plan should be according to the course map. Make sense?
Yeah.
The last week before the race, besides that our nerves are kind of tight and everybody is excited, there is a certain protocol we call carb loading, where we load carbs to like fuel the glycogen storages, a little bit depending again on the race. A couple of years ago we said, okay, we carb load 6 days, but nowadays we realize that's too much. because with carb loading, a little bit of a weight gain comes, and that needs to be balanced. And the advantage from loading 6 days to 5 days is marginal, because the total amount in the end charged will be somewhere 305 millimole per kilo, while when we charge 5 days, we're about 200, which is so little that the extra bloating and the extra water injection in the body doesn't make sense. If you run 10K the night before eating good or the day before eating good is sufficient. Because what we are talking about is to get the glycogen storage as full as possible to survive the race. In a classical protocol, we fuel 8 gram carbs per kilo body weight up to the race. Then 2 days before we go to 10 grams, and the day before we go to 12 grams. That is so far the best proven way on get the maximum out. During that time,
How do you measure that, Coach? Is it?
You measure your FTP and your BAM and stuff. It is basically you take the weight and then you measure what you eat. It is very hard to do. It needs a lot of food.
Yeah.
I had a very well-known athlete before the last Ironman, and he was fueling 1 kilo of rice the day before. That was too much. But analyze your food, and nowadays you have these apps where you kind of like begin. This is 100 grams of this, 100 grams of that, and then you get the outcome. How much carbs is in there, and then your body weight you should know, and based on that, it's not that difficult.
Do you have any apps that you recommend?
Huh? No, Fitness Pal, or what's the name of this? I personally have a map where I have all the food in. It's for me and for my athletes. This is Fat Secret, and there basically all the foods are there, and I just make a photo, and then it gives me automatically what is in there. Often you cannot feed 12 grams per kilo is really a lot, of course. So if you see you're not getting to it, I would say this is the only time where Haribo gummy bears is a really good solution.
How is to quantify identify the specific electrolytes requirement?
Madam?
Electrolytes requirement. Like how to quantify, like you need certain amount of electrolytes based on individuals, so like to avoid the grants or like for the long endurance electrolytes how should be planned, so how frequently we should take electrolytes?
Yeah, the electrolytes fueling is basically based on how much electrolytes you lose. Doing a sweat test, you get it down to like really the gram or milligram sweat, including the sodium per hour. So then you can basically fuel very precise on what you need now. In the pre-fueling, I always say between 500 and 750 milligram per day extra, you're on the safe side. In the week leading up to the race. But electrolytes, exciting. The most important in the race is the electrolyte fulfillment, because when you look into inner cellular, we have potassium and we have sodium. And potassium is intracellular and the sodium is extracellular. Potassium basically doesn't change. But when we sweat out the sodium. And this is what we need to refuel, because the sodium is the transmitter from the energy into the cell. So if the sodium is low, disbalanced, like completely disbalanced, you take carbs, but the carbs doesn't get there. That's what often people underestimate. Because I always say sodium is the guy who takes the carb and brings it to the potassium and says, here, do with it what you want. If sodium is not there, the carbs
Flush out.
So I always say that is some metric you should really be aware. In worst case scenario, just take 1,000 milligrams and you're pretty safe. If you don't want to kind of like go into details, but with 1,000 milligrams in a race, you're pretty safe. I would say you ride in hot weather and then you know how white the shirts are, then you know how much sodium you lose. But it is measurable, and if you don't want to measure it, then use like a standard. And always it's 1,000 milligrams per hour, and you pretty much hit the target
Per hour.
per hour. All the numbers are per hour.
For 1,000 milligrams, isn't that a high risk of increasing blood pressure, for example, due to high sodium?
In real life, maybe.
In racing.
In racing, why should you have stress with high blood pressure?
I don't know, I'm just asking because somebody pointed out that 1,000 is a lot and
Consuming 90 gram carbs per hour leads to obesity.
yes.
I have no triathlete after a race who has a problem with weight.
You lose weight, you lose 2-3
Yeah,
kg.
if you finish time and then step on a scale, there's 3 kilo minimum less. So that's really the one depends on. But blood pressure during a race, if you don't have precondition, if you go there and you have 160 by 100 baseline, yes, I will consult my doctor before I start moving. But assuming that the athlete is halfway okay, there is no issue with salt or high blood pressure because of the natural intake. Not one athlete I know with that issue during the race. Apart, generally, yes, maybe. High sodium or high salt can be one of the causes for high blood pressure. But honestly, during a race,
During a race, what about training as well, right? In hot weather,
yeah, but
chances of cramps is there.
cramps is a completely other subject. But you should know how much you sweat, and if you sweat 600 and you feel 600, this has no impact on the system other than pure replacement. Of course, if you sweat 500 and you feel 1500, that will lead to something over a longer period of time because you consume more than you need and it's going to be stored. Mainly it will be swallowed out, but at some point your kidneys will kind of say, you make us work hard. And then there may be some medical issues at some point of time. But talking about an athlete, talking about a race, shouldn't be an issue. During race week, food intake should be not healthy. All the healthy stuff we eat all year long is a no-go. High fiber, fat, even good fat, anything with too much digestion time. All the good stuff like full grain, all of the doctor tells you all year long to eat, avoid in that week because we want to clear the gut. We want to have everything out. We just want to take carbs in to
I meant before the race. Before the race. Yeah, 2 days, 3 days.
yeah,
before the race.
protein. Use your regularly 1.5, 1.6 grams per kilo body weight, but avoid high quality protein. No red meat, because that we stay hydrated, but we are not overhydrated. It is not a big problem because I always say the moment in the triathlon you come out of the water, all that is gone. But you have like 30, 40 minutes swim and all this extra water is mainly gone. Other than that, no, that is the week before. Yeah, side things, keep focused, don't get wild, don't get crazy, keep your mind under control, just to not do anything, you haven't been practiced before. That is one of the most seen issues, that people start a new diet, or they read this and this athlete does this and this before race week, and they all of a sudden start doing that. Stay away from that. Do what you're used to. Race day. I have a certain protocol for my athletes to follow, to fuel for race day, for pre-race. We call that 4210 protocol. Means 4 hours before the race starts, you have the last real meal. There, I always say 1 to 4 grams of protein, no high quality protein, because the high quality protein stays in the system. But eggs, perfect. White rice and eggs, you can go for it. Huh? You have no GI problems, and you have the energy, and you have the protein to maintain it. Stay away from fat, because fat generally slows digestion down. Fat is a real break for any digestional system and digestional process.
Some people like they are using oats or something.
If you are a big fan of oats, use it 4 hours before. It has enough digestion time, but don't take too much. And to fuel the 80-90 grams of carbs with oats, some people like it. This is really something you should try before, and when you know how it works, then definitely go for it. But don't start a week before the race. Because this protocol should be tested before you go. No? So when you say, okay, on race day I will fuel with this, 3-4 weeks before, on the trial 2, third day, try that, exactly that protocol. And then you see how you feel in the training. Yeah? 2 hours before, we're gonna top up, because what we try on race day is save our glycogen storage up to the max. We level up with some light snack. If you like a banana, if you like some dates, by 2 hours before we have enough time to kind of like go to the toilet the last time. It will not be processed completely, but it will not avoid too much of the digestive problem. 1 hour before, we usually prepare for the warm-up and everything, and all the energy we use during the warm-up, we have to refill. That is very important, to keep any energy we use prior to the race instantly refilled. Because we want to jump in the water full, and we don't want to touch the glycogen storage until we run.
What about magnesium shots before race?
Okay, when you use magnesium, you have to use it with tugging. Magnesium, as a standalone, makes your muscle slow. It has a chemical reaction that you are kind of reduce the performance. When you use magnesium, the beta-glucan and taurine, that turns the whole process around. But that's something That's biochemics. No? But magnesium as standalone as a avoiding for the cramps,
Yes.
don't do it.
Don't do
The cramps in a race, 99% comes not from a lack of magnesium. It comes from a lack of electrolytes, a lack of hydration, 80% a lack of training, and the rest is we don't know. That is, cramps in a race it's still like if you ask any sport scientist, any doctor, any human being related to that subject, and he gives you an answer why you get the cramp in a race, he doesn't know this. Because science at this point of time cannot provide a solution which definitely works. What helps when you have a cramp in the race is pickle juice. We usually don't have it with us.
Where is it?
Pickle juice. I always, when I race, I have a pickle juice shot with me in case I get the cramp, which I barely get. But funny thing is, it doesn't have a reaction. But same as mouth rinsing with carb, né? There is no energy, but we still get better. When we mouth rinse with beetle juice, the boss says, okay, something is coming, release the cramp.
Beetlejuice.
Pickle juice.
Pickle,
You know,
pickle.
sour pickle.
Okay.
There's
You
a
said beetle.
There's a
Ginger shot or
no pickle.
Beetle, you know this beetle, pickles, no? You know the green, sour, no? When you eat them,
Can I show kind of pickles?
no? when you eat them, save some water and keep it and try it. The industry picks that up since a little while, and they sell these pickle boosters. No? And I have one when I race and mouth rinse, because within a minute the cramp is going. And there is no physiological explanation for it. This is really comes from the master in command. That same happens when you do mouth rinse with a carb a gel. Like in the run, sometimes you cannot digest it anymore, so you mouth rinse. Same reaction. The brain gives the glycogen storage a command that, okay, I'm safe, release some of the glycogen. Because glycogen is directly commanded by the brain. And safety for the master is priority number one in our mind. Start the last, before we jump in the water, we take a gel just to be sure that we have some while we are in the water playing. That is a protocol I follow since quite some time, and I have very positive feedback from athletes, very positive results coming from them. And everybody says, yeah, but the race starts at 6 a.m. I said, you're not going to sleep anyway tonight.
You're up from 2, 3.
The most important is bank up some sleep in the week before, because in the night going to the race, if you sleep, halas, you're happy, but normally it's kind of
if you have some sleeping baby.
no, don't do it.
Really?
No. That's neurological superpower. Don't take a sleeping pill or whatever.
Melatonin or something.
Okay. Melatonin. Side step. Melatonin is marketing because it's not working. When you have a sleeping problem, take magnesium, because magnesium brings your body to produce more melatonin. If you use melatonin, your body says, oh, it's coming, I don't have to do this. You're not making anything better. You just tell your body, halas, it's coming anyway, forget it.
But I mean in this day, in the race day.
Yeah, but in this state, don't do anything in race week you wouldn't do all the time. Don't try, because you take the melatonin, and at 5:30 in the morning, like,
Which form of magnesium is better, magnesium glycinate or magnesium oxide?
Yes. It depends a little bit on how your physiology works. There's triple magnesium, where the three main magnesium, there are 300 different magnesiums. It's not magnesium. Mg has so many side products. There's triple magnesium, can I say pillar, cell stem, that's most likely the best of the market, which really works well for recovery and sleep. But stay away from this melatonin, because it doesn't support your sleep. Because you dose, then you dose, then you dose, then you dose, and your body just says, the more I get, the less I have to produce. While the magnesium triggers that and helps you sleep better. And never do something new on race weekday. Nada, zero.
Don't try. Don't try anything.
No new shoes, no new shirt, not even clothes.
Yeah.
Execute the plan, most important. No? Sorry that's a little bit small because it was too much information.
It's eye test.
This is eye test, yes. We have the strategy. And very important, follow your plan. The experience says banked time, for example, the first half of the race you run 5% over, race pace 5%, cost you 20% in the end.
So don't get excited and, okay, I'm feeling good, I can do it.
Third point, discipline. Don't be a hero.
Thank you.
Run your own race. Don't run the race of your neighbor. Don't run the person who just takes off. No. Follow your own strategy. This strategy should be defined over the training period, and you should know, I can press this watts, I can run this pace, I can swim this pace, and stick with it.
Coach, what about cycling racing? So you cannot follow this one. You don't have exact.
Cycling
plan.
race, let me put it that way, depends on the level of cycling. If you do a local race, forget any strategy, because everybody wants to win.
Yes.
If you go into a GC or if you go into a UCI team, they follow the same rules and regulations because they know the when to attack and when to race. Talking about, let's say, OCA race,
Even though you, for example, sometimes you have to be within the marathon. So you have to, even if you have a certain work that you can produce it.
yes,
Sometimes you have,
in cycling
to go
racing,
over
the
that.
most important metric you should know is my power after 1,000 kilojoules. Because there is a certain amount of energy you use before you take off. And normally when you look into the curve, you should know you 1,000 kilojoule, 1,200 kilojoule, 1,500 kilojoule, and 2,000 kilojoule. The energy you can use at that point, then you can make an attack, and you know I can attack 400 watts for 3 minutes and I need 3 minutes recovery. So cycling racing is a bit different because you have to react. While triathlon racing is a little bit more trying to maintain a certain effort over the most lowest possible time. But in general, from the energy exposure, or it's the same. You have a certain amount of energy, and you can use it, and you have to know. Of course, you have to know your double prime. You have to know how your anaerobic battery works, and how you can deload it, and how long it takes to recharge. within the race. Make sense?
I don't know what you say. I'll be honest.
Just attack.
Uh,
Until you drop.
you have a certain amount of matches in your box,
Okay.
and whenever you burn a match,
Okay.
it's not so much left.
Okay.
And when you burn the last match, you done. And you should know how many matches you have in your box.
Sometimes we finish the race with all matches.
Yeah, but then you kind of like didn't attack. Cycling is a very different sport because it depends on what's your role within the race. A team has a certain structure. And there is people who are supposed to support, like the seniors, go to the car, get the bottles, take the jackets, help the GC guys.
Yes.
There is guys who are leading out the sprint train. There's the sprinters. Everybody has its role, and everybody has his own road book. In theory, looking at the OC race, it's a bit different here. But like they always say, you have a certain amount of matches in your box, and then you burn it. Let's say you burn one match is 1,000 kilojoules, and then you should know how long it takes to recover to be able to burn the next match. Good. We can sit down one day and then explain you a little bit more.
I will go. I will search also.
Yep.
About
No, but check.
Yeah, and now it's like everybody's talking about watts and watts per kg and all this, but I think here, including myself, I'm not, aware about, how how we know how much, for example, kilojoule, in terms of wattage and all this stuff. So
Yeah.
it's kind of new to us.
Yeah. 1 watt is 1 kilojoule. Very simple.
kilojoule or joule?
Kilojoule.
Kilojoule.
That's the same. That's how we calculate the energy. Yes? That's when I started. Kilojoule and
So it
carbohydrates.
means 1 calorie. True? It means 1 calorie. Also, or there is different.
That's what?
Calorie.
Calorie.
Yes.
Yeah.
It means 1 calorie. 1 kilojoule. Or I am wrong.
Basically, yes, more or less 4.1 to 4, but it's the same, 1 on 1. That's why we say a cyclist who burns 180 grams of carbs
Yes.
by 400 watts,
Yes.
and then you go down, and to calculate that, we use kilojoule. The kilojoule is a physiological or physical metric, it's defined.
Do we need to watch the kilojoule in the screen while training?
There is some kilojoule, but you can.
There's some. So I don't know. I think some pros or something that watching the kilojoules.
Yeah, this is when we come to, how much matches you have in your box, and these matches are defined in kilojoule. When you're looking at the curve of the W prime, then you see the deloading and the recharging.
This is so complicated.
Sorry. Yeah.
Is it different than stamina? You would stamina.
Yeah, but stamina is how long you can maintain a certain amount of effort over a period of time. The stamina that brings in the VO2 max, brings in your basic energy demand. The stamina comes from the time to exhaustion. I think that goes a bit beyond that workshop today. We can do a workshop for that.
Yeah, we need to watch you for kilojoules.
I have also one thing, coach. Regarding, it means, for example, we are human, we are different. If everybody who spend 1 watt, he also spend the same kilojoule, or
Yes.
or there is a difference between
That's physics.
Okay.
That's physics.
Okay.
1 watt
It means 1 kilojoule
is 1 kilojoule
for all.
for every human being. That's the same. This is simple physics. If you go in a high school, eighth grade, maybe they can calculate that.
Okay.
We forgot that after some time. No, but 1 watt is 1 kilojoule. That's physics, like rules and regulations.
Like 100 centimeters equals to 1 millimeter, something like that.
We lost a little bit the timing here. I think this is pretty much clear. Yeah, what I want to say here is don't be a hero. Don't start hard. I say in a triathlon, the first 50 meters just to find the space and then go as steady as possible. One important part which is a bit outside is I call it the A to Z race plan. We always have a plan A, which is target pace, target watts, sun is shining, temperature is right, everything is perfect. 9 out of 10 times that doesn't work. Because a race has its own rules and regulations. You should always have a plan B. That's problem-solving orientation. And you should think about any possible cause that can happen during a race and have a little solution somewhere. The chain drops. I lose my bottle. Wind from the side. The weather drops overnight, 5 degrees, 10 degrees, 20 degrees. The sun comes out and the temperature rises 20 degrees. All these things you should kind of think about before you go out there. And then, when it happens, I have the ABA approach. Analyze, breathe, action. Analyze means, whoop, that's the situation. Then breathe. I always say breathe minimum 30 seconds. To get your cortisol, your adrenaline halfway under control to bring you back to a functional system. When we are racing, we're not acting normal because you kind of under fire. So I always say breathing 30 seconds brings you halfway to a state of mind where you can make a logical approach. And then think about how to fix that. And then the new plan A starts. But be prepared. Think about many things like this. What can happen to talk to your coach, talk about the stuff which experience has been brought in the field. You don't have to figure everything out by yourself. But be prepared that a race will most likely not go exactly the way you assume.
Every time.
Every time. No, it's just life. And a race is a stress situation. Positive stress situation. But many things can go south. Yeah, I think this is something just to gather up what we are talking about. Every individual is different, so you have to have your own electrolyte analysis. You have to know how many carbs you need for a certain amount of effort. You need to know what is your hydration program for a race, and not only for a race. It should be something you should know all the time. That is, I think, that's basic logic. Yeah, this is just taking it all back. The last point, heat-related illness or cold-related illness. Sometimes we go to a race and it all of a sudden gets warmer overnight. Adjust the hydration, adjust the cooling. Don't follow your plan like a robot and forget that you need to maybe have a little more per hour. Use the ice. Same and even worse is when the temperature drops. You prepared for a let's say Muscat Ironman, you prepared for 25 degrees, and it gets bad weather, and it all of a sudden has 50. You're not thirsty because you're cool. You still need to hydrate because you sweat even you don't realize it's hot. And we say as soon as you start getting thirsty, as soon as you start getting hungry, you're cooked. Follow the procedure. And be aware when you go to the race that circumstances change.
But coach, for our races here, the risk of hot weather is much higher than
Yeah.
cooling overnight.
You know, and be aware that during the race the temperature increases constantly. And when you start at the beach, it's 25, and by the time you run, it's maybe 35. So adjust that.
What about overhydration, especially on the run?
Overhydration is a big issue. There is people dying because of overhydration. But overhydration happens when people start drinking only water. The problem is that when you only drink water a lot, you swallow out the sodium. Right? And then the whole metabolism gets disbalanced. You don't die because of the water. You die because of the lack of sodium. Because your cell, including the heart, including the lung, including the brain, don't get the energy anymore. And then you crack up.
Some people getting salt while they are running, you feel that they come down, they're eating just salt.
Yeah,
Salt tablets.
salt tablets is okay. Like licking salt
Yeah.
makes you very thirsty. And then you have most likely the problem that you drink too much. You know? But yeah, how you get the electrolytes in? Electrolytes is salt. The main electrolyte is sodium, right? And that's salt. That's when you run in hot weather. When you run in hot weather, I said that white stuff. If you take it and lick, that's pure sour. That's salt. So you can refine it. Maybe business idea. Depends on the flavor of your gels.
Yeah. 2 in 1.
Yeah, this is just general information that control it, right?
Okay, on the bike, you're carrying your food, gels, and hydration. On the run, you usually maximum you carry your gels. If you carry your water with electrolytes, you just so you
Now we're talking about the 70.3.
for example.
For example, for food, 70.3 is easier because that's statistical. On the bike, you fuel that you theoretically don't need the energy in the run. The bike, you know, the thing between swim and run,
Yes.
it's only to make sure that we don't deplete the glycogen stores. When you get off the bike, okay, on the bike you basically can digest anything you put in, more or less. When you jump off the bike, start the run, you have to know that your digestion is about down to 50% best, normally 30% capacity. Let's say your demand on the bike, carbohydrates per hour is 90. You jump off the bike, it's automatically down 45. That's a physical impact and the time in the race and the GI exhaustion.
But let's say you fuel 60 on the run. 60 grams per hour on the run. So if you're doing
High trained professional athletes. You and I will not do that. This is just not possible. When you get off the bike, 70, your glycogen storage should be almost full enough. Fuel on the bike works that good, you basically survive. And then every carb you can add and digest is a bonus. In a marathon it's different, and in a full, because the glycogen storage just doesn't last. But the important thing to know and understand is that the fueling on the bike is the essential outcome of the race. And you have barely any toilet issues on the bike. Toilet issues happen in the bike. And that comes from underfueling on the bike and then trying to fix the problem in the run, because then it's too late. There are some athletes, and I mean they are highly trained people who have the digestion system under control, but that is usually not working. If the fueling on the bike doesn't work, we'll go. Does it answer?
Yeah.
Because we say 50% best case scenario. Usually regular age group athletes, 30% capacity. Best case.
So you take whatever gels you have on you, like for the half marathon, like 3 or 4 gels for the distance, and then your hydration during the aid station.
I have always, in my experience, I have always one high caffeine gel with me, but therefore there's more the caffeine than the gel. And if possible, Coca-Cola.
Cola on the
The only time Coca-Cola is really, really good is in the half marathon or marathon.
100%.
When you remember